This episode of Kind of Funny Gamescast is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient recipe delivery service in the country. The mission is to make incredible cooking accessible to everyone. Not all ingredients are created equal. Fresh, high-quality ingredients make a real difference, so it's important to know where your food comes from. For less than $10 per person per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Greg Miller, you might know the guy from his world-renowned Instagram series, Cooking with Greggy. He's all about this Blue Apron goodness. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/gamecast. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. That's blueapron.com/gamecast. No S in there. Blue Apron. Better way to cook. All right.
Sony. Next.
Moving on from Microsoft. I'm going to say next topic here.
Okay.
Let's talk about
This is
Sony.
a good show. We're having a good show.
This is a damn good show, Tom.
Is it going well? You guys think it's going good?
You're
Yeah.
doing real well. Don't fuck up now, because you're halfway there. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about
Fall over
Sony.
and- right.
So, what do they do this year? I think that they are in the worst spot out of the big three in terms of E3 press conferences, in terms of their success, in terms of what they have. They are, I think,
When is theirs
the best-
timing-wise
the best
in
spot.
order now? Do we know
They
what the
are-
orders
Monday
are?
night, historically.
Yeah,
right?
Monday night is when they
Microsoft's now Sunday
Sunday
night.
night, and then Nintendo is predictably.
Well, no, it's Microsoft's
morning.
Sunday afternoon. Bethesda's Sunday night.
You're right.
Didn't someone go into Saturday even, did I see? Or is it Sunday?
That's still
Oh,
EA
Play.
doing their EA Play thing. Then it's going to be the normal thing.
Fuck, it'll be like the week before. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
they're going to back it up so far that it'll be the week
UB,
prior.
right? And then is EA doing their, they move their thing to Saturday. The EA Play Saturday. Are they doing an EA thing on before UB this year? No. So it'll be UB then PlayStation.
Yeah, they probably will. They did last year.
I need tickets, by the way, so someone's got to get me some tickets.
You spent all your money.
Kev Dog.
All your money coming here.
Right,
Yeah.
I spent it all to fly and do the...
But yeah, so I think Sony's in a bad spot, and it's kind of even hard to say that because of how
Where
well
they
they're
are, right?
doing.
Yeah.
But it's just their E3s the last 2 years have been year of dreams. One
But I
and
mean,
two.
and that, my whole reason of why I'm not at all worried about Sony is because, yeah, and I remember Year of Dreams 1, us being like, well, fuck,
Yep.
there's no way they can top
And they
that
topped it.
next, and then they come out and they fucking
And
destroy
that's
it
why
again.
I want to believe they're going to come through and make a whole bunch more announcements.
Yeah.
But I think this year is going to be more release dates, more gameplay trailers.
Similar to last year, just game after game after
I think
game,
it'll be that
theater
but,
style.
Yeah,
just
but instead
bang,
of it
bang,
being
bang.
new game,
Yeah.
it's going to be more like
Days Gone,
Here's
God of
another.
War.
Let's look
Yep.
back into what's happening with. As you said that, I erased my memory. Let's go and look at. I'm sure we were talking about this beforehand. I think the Emma Stone stuff for Death Stranding's true. And I bet
I
that'll
don't
be.
think she's in it.
I bet that'll be a fucking trailer
Ooh.
they drop there, and it's Hideo Kojima Productions and fucking Emma Stone's there,
she
and
comes
Ryan
out tap
Gosling
dancing,
dancing. Yeah.
Dude, they spend so much time and effort on Kojima on that. They do it so well.
Yeah.
Those things
Yeah.
are just so
And
good.
You need that. You need
Oh,
that
you do.
hype.
That's what
Build
I'm
it up
saying.
over
It's-
years because
they
that
do it.
game's
They're
nowhere
genius at
soon.
it.
But
Yep.
like, get it out there and keep that going because that is their like they have the thing that Microsoft doesn't, which is hype.
And it's a
the
big
game to be
thing,
hyped
right, it's
about,
big.
right?
Yep.
So they have that.
Yep.
Last of Us 2. I imagine that the most we'd get is a teaser, but I wouldn't even be shocked if we didn't see it at all.
Yeah.
I imagine the Uncharted DLC or whatever the fuck they're calling it these
Right.
days.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's moved off of being DLC
Yeah.
to being its own project. So I think that's the whole thing of we've had that debate of is it going to be out before E3? Is it not going to be? No. Now that we're here in March, as
Yeah.
I look at this thing, April, as you listen, God, I can't believe I was so
I
brain
know.
dead on
I
that.
know.
I literally was like, oh
Halo
man,
Wars is coming
February
out
28th
in
it
a
sure is
month.
coming up quick. I think that gets a pretty big push there. Probably just a trailer.
With the release date,
When do
though.
we think?
Oh, yeah,
when do
yeah.
we think?
I think that's
Uncharted.
we were talking about
We've
this
been talking
before.
about
I
it.
think it's between E3 and September, closer to September.
That sounds like a good spot to put it, I say. I mean, I
guys have-
thought it was going to be before E3, but now it is looking like it'll be that time for because they don't want to go too late with it.
But they're changing that game pretty significantly, aren't they? I mean, they're adding a lot of new stuff, right? This isn't
Yeah, I
just
mean, well,
a reskin.
I mean, it's not reskinned at all. Yeah, it's different characters. No Nathan Drake. They're doing all these different things.
Sure, no,
like
I just
they-
mean as
The
far as like
location
there's
looks
some,
different. Even the camera
sure,
looks
yeah,
like
yeah,
Right. It looks like, I mean, that's a pretty heavy lift development wise.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm real interested in that. That obviously is a big deal. And
that'll be-
getting the release date for that is going to be big news. But that's kind of what I'm saying is this year it seems a bit less of like a holy shit and more of a
Right.
But I mean, that's the whole thing of like what we get lulled into when we talk about this is just the fact of, well, like, but what are they going to do? You know what I mean? Like the fact of the matter, I mean, like for sure, I think this is, because this is what, it's been them setting up these dominoes forever, right? And with Horizon, they really start, and Uncharted 4, they really started to topple, right? Of like, here's what the first parties have been doing. Here we go. Here you go, Horizon, or here you go, Uncharted. Here you go, Horizon. Then you look out and you start thinking about not first party, but what is Quantic Dream's game going to be? Okay, we get to see more of it. We're going to see next what happens there. All right, we have the second party
Detroit.
partnership.
Yeah.
We have the second party partnership to bring all these other things. Here's this Spider-Man thing from Insomniac. Like they're all lined up. So I think it is. I don't think you're going to get a lot of release dates because I think they're still going to play fast and loose with that. I think Detroit, I would love a release date right away. I don't think we're going to get a release date.
Here's my thing. I don't think they've learned. I think that it's too obvious to say that they learned from Last Guardian and Horizon to not put release dates on things, but they're going to. I think they're going to put a release date, not on Detroit, but they will on
a few.
Uncharted.
Yeah.
I think they will.
Well, Uncharted, sure. That I think makes sense.
Days Gone, and at the very least, we'll get a fall 2018 like release date to the day. Probably
right. No,
not.
No, yeah, it'll be a window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they probably.
You think
won't hit
Days
it.
Gone makes it into this year?
LV3?
No. In release this year.
I'm not familiar enough on the studio side with all that to like to make that.
Bend that's doing that? Is it
Yeah,
Sony
it's Sony Bend.
But I mean, I feel like that has to come out this year.
I kind of do too. I think that's one of those that when did they show that? When was that first crazy with the million?
That was last year.
Was that just last year? Okay.
Yeah,
I thought
that was the same way
But
we're
my thing
showing
with that is
everything
that seems like the type of game that like it needs to get out.
Have you guys seen that game in person?
We saw like a.
But
yeah,
it was
behind
just it was
closed doors
yeah,
thing.
exactly. At E3 we saw behind closed doors, which was another route through that like sawmill or whatever where they get chased by zombies.
There's something about it where, especially now that we know Last of Us 2 is coming, it's like, all right, cool. That's what 2019 that we're looking at, like earliest late 2018, which I doubt that.
Yeah.
I think that this game needs to come out far enough away from Last of Us 2.
For me, for Days
think so
Gone,
too.
and
You're right.
I know that there's a whole predictions episode on PS I Love You where we laid out the roadmap back in the day, and obviously it's changed. And I don't have my specific notes in front of me on that. The thing I would think with Days Gone now, looking at it and thinking about it, and also how they're treating the Uncharted DLC, is I think they don't want that to get in the way. So Uncharted DLC there, I would think you put Days Gone spring of next year. Because again, Sony Ben's been working on that a long time. That's probably further along than we think it is.
Well, they were quiet forever, right? I mean,
exactly.
we would theorize about what they were doing. Was
exactly.
it another siphon filter? Was it
another Uncharted Vita?
Right,
Yeah.
something.
So, exactly, right. And that's the whole rumor is that they were working on things and things got canned and moved around.
Well, because
and
I mean,
stuff.
especially now if you look back on what the quality of Guerrilla had to be working on that game for a long time. I mean, that game is so technically adept at everything it attempts. It pulls off that if Ben's been working on this that long, you gotta. I mean. Again, high bar. There's some high bars have been established here by these first-party games. That Days Gone, those guys aren't dumb. They're sitting back looking at the success of that game and going, "Woo,
fuck,
that's a
why do we do it that way?"
Right.
Yeah,
right.
but I mean, to be fair, I feel like Days Gone is in a different league than Horizon in a lesser way, where I think Horizon was being looked at as this needs to be.
Yeah, but think of
huge.
Killzone. But because like I think you guys talked about with Danny when he was here, there was. Did Guerrilla have this in them? Because what we had said, Killzone, fantastic for like I love Killzone. The games were fine, but they weren't this.
Yeah,
they weren't what this game came out to be.
But
and
Killzone,
you said it, like they're now in a league of like
great developers. But the thing with Killzone is, I feel like Killzone, and again, I don't really like the games, but I feel like Killzone has always been a better name than a better game.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I can see that.
And
it's
like Killzone matters.
They're fun, but they're
as
I
a
mean,
franchise.
they don't stick with you. That I played them for 8 hours campaign. I'm through, and it comes and goes. And I always feel. I don't know if you guys ever feel this way. Like I'll play a game and beat it in 8-10 hours, whatever it is, and then I stop. Maybe a lot like movies. I'll stop and go. Man, a team of 1,000 people worked on this fucking game for 3 years of their lives.
Right.
And I'll sometimes watch the credits and I'll see like, here's all the babies that were born during, and I'm like, these people, blood, sweat, and tears for however long they did this. And I just kind of like, it's almost like we get so spoiled as gamers, too, right? I mean, that's why I try to kind of, back to the strategy guy thing, like soak it all in, because these people dedicated this huge chunk of their lives to doing this thing that we consume like that. I mean, movies are the same way, right? You'll work on a movie for 2 years and I'll watch it for an hour and a half and I may never think of it again.
Yeah, and I think it's also when you start making comparisons and stuff. Like right now, Horizon and Zelda is the thing going around. But even going back, like a lot of why I don't like Killzone's because I liked especially the earlier Halo games. Like, so to me, it was like Killzone's like
because you put hundreds of hours in
the same league.
Yeah,
like, are you
fair.
kidding me?
That's fair.
But going back to what I was saying is like Killzone is a name. I think that with Sony Bend, they don't have a name.
Exactly.
Like Siphon Filter was a name back in the day, but it's not anymore. So I think that from moving on from Killzone, they had to prove themselves with Horizon being a new IP. And not only did they need to prove themselves that like it's worth doing instead of Killzone, but that this is going to be a huge Sony franchise.
Oh, dude,
with Days Gone, I can imagine Days Gone being the only Days Gone. You know,
100%.
Like
and that's what sucks is that I think that Sony Bend just got painted into a corner in a way there, right? Of it was they went and worked on this game that's not. They're like, it's not zombies, it's tweakers. It looks like zombies. You know what I mean? And then while they're doing that, Last of Us comes out and destroys and changes everything. And they're like, well, we're doing something different. Yeah. But now to have Last of Us 2 shadow over you, I think it is a thing that you have to come out at this E3. Here's Days Gone again. Let's do another gameplay demo. We're going to give you something completely different, show you why this game isn't what so many of you think it is of just zombies running at you and you gunning them down. Here's us getting supplies. Here's us doing this thing. Here's what the story of this motorcycle club is. And then get you excited for hopefully a spring release to trying to get it.
I mean, going back to the last topic we had, and it's funny that they're both quote unquote zombie games, but I do feel like Colin was talking about State of Decay. Oh, Greg's excited, but really who else is? And it's not like a game changer game. I think Days Gone is higher profile than that, but they're in similar spaces in terms of the catalog of what Sony has, where it's just like that's just going to be a game that happens.
It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a fun game.
Hopefully,
some people, exactly.
And hopefully meaty enough that it's not a 6 hour, 8 hour.
Well, and that's the thing is
over,
like,
because I mean, is there a multi? I mean, there's
when you talk to them about it and they talk about like, oh yeah, and your bike breaks down and you need to work on this and you need to scavenge gas. Like that sounds cool. Yeah. I would have really preferred to see that rather than how many zombies you can fit on screen.
Because that was just something really different and
that looks cool. Don't get me wrong, but like I always say, I talk about all the time. The first trailer they showed before they even said it was anything about zombies, of where it's Sam Witwer on his motorbike talking about his girlfriend. You assume I was like, that seems really interesting. That's a cool story.
It is.
But then the lasting impression we have is this zombie thing. And what's interesting, we keep talking about it, of course, is what will Horizon's presence be at E3? Because there is story DLC coming. They've announced that, and I bet that like they've been working on it. I don't think it's close to being done and ready to roll, but you've got to imagine slap together a trailer really quick of just cuts and this and that. And
where are they? Where is Horizon sales wise? Have we looked? Like, do we know where that?
They announced. I mean, you know how it is. They only put out certain amounts of information.
I mean, the framework that they've created with that game. There's no telling where this could go over the next 3 to 5 years.
The moon, some would say.
Of course.
Yeah, on March 16th, it was that they had topped 2.6 million units in 2 weeks. Under 2 weeks.
And that's 2 weeks. Like where we're at now, after all the word of mouth of this game, like you can only imagine. But yeah, that's the thing, is that that's really a good observation. We're going to get some DLC from Horizon.
There'll be some teaser
somewhere.
I know, right?
Really nice.
But yeah, I mean, looking through last year, God of War is going to make it.
You'll get more God of War.
I am very excited for God of War. I mean, that I know people were kind of back and forth on that one. That really grabbed me. I love
that trailer was awesome.
Norse mythology stuff. I mean, in fact, it was funny. The strategy guide thing. I think I learned more about Greek mythology from playing. Literally, I mean, I found myself reading about stuff outside of a game because of God of War. Yeah. Like, what the hell game does that to you, where you can literally go learn about something that was a really interesting
introduced
topic,
here,
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe that's not. I don't know. They are changing that game so fundamentally.
Yep. Making you care about
Kratos. Necessary.
They could swing and miss really badly, but they have a good enough pedigree.
Yep.
Of understanding what God of War is and what it's not to make. Have you guys seen it lately? Has there been any?
No, there's been no update.
That was all silent. Yeah.
Timing on that one? Do we have any feel for?
I mean, that's my thing.
Is
that's not a this year game.
It doesn't feel like it, but it
dude,
feels
that
like
game was really done. I mean, there was a lot that they. I mean,
that's vertical slice.
Yeah,
but
we saw a lot of Kingdom Hearts 3 years ago. A lot of Final Fantasy 15. So it's like with God of War, I can see that being a March 2018 game.
See, I think
next year, but I can then see it getting pushed.
You think a whole another year?
I think you get Days Gone out more. That's more important to put out.
Well, I think Days Gone's this year.
You do?
I think Days Gone's this year, and I can see it potentially getting pushed to. January to
It's
March.
one of those fucked up weird things, right? Is that I think if you put Days Gone out at the end of this year, like into the holiday season, right?
It gets eaten alive.
It gets fucking murdered. That's a game nobody's going to pay attention to compared to the other big, if there is an Assassin's Creed and there is this AAA thing and there is. Now, the flip of that is that you could put God of War out there and it could be a contender if it's that far along, if that's where we're at. God of War could roll out and fucking smash.
What's interesting now is we're in a new era of game releases where the big guy, the exclusives, are just going to miss the holidays entirely because then they can just do better.
Yeah, but
Horizon coming out of February.
I sent a topic in way back when, months ago, about that, about Dishonored.
Sorry.
No, yes, you didn't get to it. God damn it. About Dishonored last year, right? I know Dishonored's a little bit of a, doesn't strike everybody exactly the same, but there was so many games that came out right around that time that just got completely bludgeoned, really because of the release window, in my mind.
Watch Dogs and...
There was, like Watch Dogs, I want to go back and finish. There's so much that was there and they're watching now the success of these spring games. I think that there's plenty of people who are going to be willing to put summer games out and other things.
Well, that's the thing is, I
clear of all this other...
that we're going to move towards a place where summer and spring exclusive games are where it's at.
Yeah.
And then the holidays are going to be pretty much essentially for third parties.
Yes.
With the exception of Nintendo.
Or the sequels,
doesn't have the third parties, so Call of Duty doesn't affect them. They put the Mario game out.
Because those are the Christmassy kind of things. Like, let me get my kid the newest Call of Duty. Let me get him the newest whatever. Those don't matter when they release. They're going to sell. Those games are going to sell what they're going to sell no matter what time of year. Right? So there's a lot of games that are could sell way better because of when they put them out. Right? Because there's a big lull. Like, even now, I know you guys talked with Danny about between now and E3, but then there's a giant, I have no idea in the summer. There's nothing in the summer. Really? Nothing of giant substance. Is there?
A little game called Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy.
Besides
June
that,
30th,
of course.
Get fucking hyped. But that's my thing is like, personally, you can't beat last year's E3. Like, having that moment, I'm like, holy crap. And like, the only thing they can match it is if Crash Team Racing, if they're like, the response has been so good pre-release of Crash Bandicoot that we're also going to give you Crash Team Racing or Spyro or something. I don't know. Like, I'm a sucker for those type of things, but Sucker Punch's game, speaking of suckers.
I think that this for sure happens this E3 because again, it is... these dominoes have all been set up, and regardless of when they're toppling, they're starting to go. We're going to start getting those release dates. And sure, Death Stranding and Last of Us are way down the line, but you still need to show what's happening in there, and you still are innovating. And I think Sucker Punch coming out and being like, yep, this is what we've been working on. Here's what it is. No release date, of course. It'll be like last year with all these other things. But
man, I'm starting to get hyped about this. Like starting off the Sony thing, I
want an Infamous. I want another Dead Space is what I want. That's the one that I keep sitting back going, why are they not doing this?
Because Capcom, they'll never give you that.
It's so interesting where they fucked up pretty bad last generation, where it's like they took so much of their franchises and ran them into the ground, and they kind of tarnished their name in so many ways. And now it seems like they're starting to be like, all right, cool. They fucked up Street Fighter 2 or 5, but they're trying to fix it, right? They're coming back, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which so far seems iffy, but I believe it'll shake out well in the end. Resident Evil 7. They fixed Resident Evil. Like, nobody saw that coming.
No.
What do they do with the things like Devil May Cry? Like, is it time for it to come back? It's been
I really
way
enjoyed
too
the
long.
last Devil May Cry. I don't know if you guys spent much.
DMC?
DMC was great.
With starring Ray Gutierrez?
Yeah.
That was one of my few Twitch, like I'm not a big Twitch fighter kind of man. That game really got
those
me.
action things? Onimusha, of course.
There was some great flying thing. Yeah, it was good.
Real quick, you jumped from Dead Space to Capcom.
Yeah,
sorry.
I was thinking survival
I was being an idiot. That's on me.
I made the connection when you brought Resident Evil, but I don't want the comments to be, dear Tim, you don't know anything. EA made Dead Space.
I threw out an EA just crazy. Like what me as a fan would love to see another two games that I would love to. I'd love to see another Infamous. Like I would.
Yeah, I would. I mean, like honestly, I feel like for Infamous, I think it's more likely that we'll get a collection of Infamous 1 and 2,
which
of like
I'm
up-res,
hey, look, I could spend hundreds of hours.
I will totally replatinum those games.
No question.
And then I think Sucker Punch will do something new. Yeah. Back to Capcom and jumping in. That's a great thing is we didn't talk about enough in the Microsoft thing or even here what third parties are getting involved that don't have their own conference. And you coming out coming out and be like more Resident Evil DLC.
Yep.
Onimusha, Devil May Cry.
Onimusha is done. Onimusha's now my next Crash Bandicoot.
They're making a Shenmue game, buddy. All right,
anything.
There's a Shenmue coming.
Shenmue.
They miss on some of those. I think they
Sailors.
think their fan base on a few of those is bigger than it is, or more. Some of those just fell flat.
We'll see. I don't know. So that's the thing. Going back to the Year of Dreams 1, we had Shenmue, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and
which you got to assume to see more of again.
Lost Guardians now. I don't know. I mean, Final Fantasy 7 Remake is due.
It has to be
an update.
Yeah. Right.
However, we all know what the update's going to be.
Still coming along.
It's coming, but we're getting to a point, and God, that game, who the fuck knows when it's going to happen. But with everything we know about it being episodic and whatever, we got to get close.
It's got to be. I mean,
we got to be getting close to them announcing that episode 1 is happening.
It's coming
with a date that will inevitably get pushed back. But we need to get
several times.
That will inevitably. That's great. We're going to announce it, but it's inevitably going to get pushed.
But that's the thing is, like,
they'll do a big reveal event, and then they'll still push the date.
I hate to even ask this, but the Metal Gear Solid spin-off shit show thing, like
Survival.
Oh my God! Right, I forgot about that piece of garbage.
Where are we on that thing? As I'm looking up at the Metal, I mean,
no one's gonna put that on a conference.
Yeah,
Konami will continue to try to push that on their own, but I don't even know if you'll see it there.
Wow.
Yeah.
All I say is wow about that thing.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Talk about missing your.
Ooh, you know who else we haven't talked about? And there's been rumors of a new Batman game forever.
So I was going to ask about Rocksteady. What is Rocksteady doing?
Forever, the game.
Say that. That's Spider-Man, but it still plays. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Now you're singing it though. When it snows. There's been a million rumors about the Batman and DC games in general, right? That, I mean, let's just talk about WB as a big thing, right? There was the rumor that WB Montreal was working on Suicide Squad. That movie didn't turn out, and the game wasn't going well, so they were flipping it over to make a Justice League game. There's still rumors that Rocksteady is out there working on a Batman game that people thought were going to be announced, but then it turned out to be Shadows of Mordor. What is it? War of Mordor.
Yep.
War of Mordor, like that one. That'll have a presence. People are going to talk about it too. Yeah, sure, totally. But I mean, as a Batman fan, I was excited for that. But I think you could definitely get a trailer from that, and I'd imagine that's at PlayStation.
But do we know what Rocksteady's? I mean, that's a big gap.
No one knows what Rocksteady's doing.
Rocksteady last year not having anything was
Batman VR.
Because yeah,
I'm
you're right. No, that's
and there's
true,
a lot more.
there's
a lot in that game or. That thing's pretty deep.
Yeah, I mean, that was a real thing. That's what I always tell that story of going to that demo where I was like, oh, I'm going to walk around the WB booth, and I was there to get my Green Arrow Lego Dimensions guy. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know you had the Rocksteady or VR to play. And I went in there, and it was all the normal guys that I've known for years since Arkham Asylum. I'm like, oh, hey, guys. Like, and like, what? I'm like, I thought this was going to be phoned in. Somebody else did. They're like, oh, fuck you. Put it on. It's good.
Dude, that first Nightwing fight in VR, that thing is like, you're really there.
Totally, when you're like, you're dodging around.
My daughter, when she did that the first time, was like, I thought she was going to break into tears. Like, they're like beating. I'm right there in the middle of them, kicking each other's ass. I'm like, oh my God, that thing is so. So could that be one of the big?
I think it could be an announcement. Here's a trailer. Here's this new Batman game we're working on. It's from Rocksteady.
When was the last Batman? When was the last Rocksteady Batman? Was Arkham Knight? And June 15.
Yeah, June 23rd, 2015.
Wow.
So I mean, 2 years later, you announce it and you say you push that it's going to come in 2018, but it probably gets kicked to spring of.
No, that makes sense. Star Wars is another thing that we didn't bring up. Really, I mean, it'll be at the EA conference. I doubt we'll get much at the Xbox or PlayStation, but
Battlefront 2. You think
Battlefront 2 is confirmed for Star Wars Celebration?
Okay, good. That's what I was double checking because I got an invite to go see it or whatever.
Yeah, in like 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, so I think that you'll have.
But I imagine
more there.
that will be. Let's see. It'll be single player. They want to focus on what's new. Right. So Star Wars Battlefront 1 was multiplayer only. So the first reveal of it will probably, I would bet, is single player because you focus on the new stuff. And then E3 is, here's the multiplayer. That's at EA.
That game will kill with a single player campaign because people, as much as they
wanted last time around. I think there's an argument to go the other way, though. Hey, at Celebration, we're confirming single player. Have they confirmed, or are we just all assuming they're putting it in there?
I'm pretty sure it's confirmed.
I'll double check. I don't remember because I don't follow that closely. But hey, we're confirmed. Yes, there's going to be a single player. Maybe even say we'll talk more about that at E3. But for right now, here, go run through this new map or whatever, and it's Kylo Lorenz better.
Huh?
That's fair. That's fair. Are we missing any big Sony stuff? So Death Stranding, I imagine it will be there. I think Death Stranding is going to be at every PSX and E3.
It's not me. I'm kind of a Forza guy, but the Grand Theft GT Sport that I've seen lots.
What do you got to say about it, Greg? I'm going to go pee.
That's what I say. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you like GT, you like GT.
Are you GT guy, Kev?
He likes racing games.
Yeah, no, but specifically GT. Oh, man.
Like, are you the guy that grinds out the last tenth of a second on a thing?
Yeah,
oh, yeah,
it's like, I can get it tighter. I can get it tighter.
I can do it.
I can take the turn a little bit
around
earlier.
that corner, and I swear to God, I can get a quarter second shaved off.
I can't wait for that, because
have you guys seen any of it?
No, but like, didn't they say that it was going to have a VR component? Right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Holy smokes, really?
Specifically, because right now, I'm playing, what's the name of the...
Drive Club.
Drive Club
that's VR. That's actually pretty good in VR. Like it's not awful.
It's pretty good, but GT always there's a polish to those games that is like well above other racing games in my experience.
Yeah, I agree. But the last one had so many issues with it. Just the timing of there were so many other racing games that had sort of superseded it. I mean, it's the gold standard, right?
Yeah.
That was the That was the gold standard game for me as a kid. Like that was it. And then it got really wonky. So it has to be amazing, I think, to get people back.
That's the thing is, I mean,
it has to be amazing. Like to do. I mean, Forza Horizon. I don't know if you're a Horizon guy or. I mean, those games are incredibly deep now and really a lot of fun. This game's gonna have to come strong if they're gonna.
I mean, I think they will.
But they got a big
but it's
Asian
just,
market
it's so
too,
weird
right?
that
I mean,
it's fallen off because it
Japan.
used to be their best-selling franchise all the time, and it's still, don't get me wrong, in terms of units sold, blah, 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 but it's just like one of those games you don't see. Roper used to be so obsessed with it. I knew people who were obsessed with Gran Turismo, now I don't.
I mean, Gran Turismo used to be a thing that even if you don't play it,
dude, it was it was a system seller. I mean, that was
Gran Turismo 3 was an event.
So when is
it's
supposed to be this? It's supposed to be 2017, and in the predictions episode, I was like, I see that getting pushed to 2018, and Colin. I was like, really? Like, but I'm like, I could totally see it coming out this year. I could also see it getting pushed.
Wasn't it already pushed?
Isn't every Gran Turismo? Isn't every Gran Turismo? Like, I don't believe
they're worth it.
Yeah,
Gran Turismo 5 got pushed so far that they released the
prologue. There you go.
Right.
Like, here's something to fucking play.
Dude, and by the way, that like when you saw that game, it was kind of like a little bit of what's going on with Mass Effect now. Like they clearly seem like they started it on a different engine or technology that may have been a little bit older. When that Gran Turismo came out, it looked like it was 5 years old. And it looked terrible.
Yeah.
Right? It was just like an old game by the time it came out. Man. So
no damage. Remember, that was always the problem.
Right.
And then they finally patched in damage, but it wasn't that much damage. You're like, dude, you've been lapped.
I was one of these idiots that even had like the wheel.
Oh, sure.
Like, I was all about.
You should see Kevin's sled. Kevin,
dude, I was out in my garage. I built a whole freaking thing with a wheel on it.
Check out our closet.
You gotta check out.
I love it.
The VR closet.
You should play it. Yeah, you should put on the VR closet.
Like I had this giant fucking 2x4 plywood with the wheel mounted in it, and like that's about as geeky as I could get.
Is amazing. I'll show it to you.
7 minutes in heaven with Kevin Coelho.
Oh my lord.
Not as good as the picture.
Or
in
as
the
I call
bathroom,
it, Paul is hell.
Yeah.
All right. Rounding out Sony.
Yep.
Anything we're missing? Any final?
Any big studios that we don't know what they're doing?
Expect the unexpected. Anything can happen, right? In the way that the fact that like nobody saw Spider-Man coming, and that team who is making those deals happen is still over there making those deals happen, and they understand E3 and they understand the climate and they want to keep winning.
We think they kill it. Do we think they come out?
I totally think they kill it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my
position of strength that they've got right now, they're going to come in with just like.
And they killed PSX as well.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing is like they know what the hell they're doing. I don't think they can top it though. I don't like I didn't think they could top 20 whatever the year before, but the Year of Dreams won. But I mean,
Year
they
of
did.
Dreams.
But I mean, coming out with that orchestra and having that, like the presentation,
Mr. Caffeine,
and the LED wall that also was an LED floor, like just from a sheer event level, that was on you can't beat it.
There was no filler. There was no fat. There was no. I mean, it was just. I don't remember who the lead guy was. It Andrew or somebody?
Andrew House?
Andy
House? Sean Layden?
It was perfectly scripted, choreographed. It was just, So
what'll be interesting, what I want to know about is, do they talk about PlayStation VR? Is there any talk of PlayStation VR of like in a consequential way of like, here's how it's sold, here's the new games we're putting out for it, or is it just like it's in a sizzle reel as always and it's like, meh.
I think they have to, don't they? I mean,
that's what we said years before. Remember, there was that time where I'm like, they're going to spend up to 20 minutes talking about it. They came out and did 3.5. And I was like, what the fuck?
Well, okay, speaking of that, final thing, hardware. Do we see anything?
No.
None. No price cut. No.
Oh, I thought you meant like new hardware.
No,
my apologies.
just anything involving hardware.
I think they'll talk a little bit more. I mean, I don't know. The Pro, again, I don't know what the sales have been and if it's what they thought it was going to be, but if Microsoft is going to do a big chunk of Scorpio, they have to do something on hard. I mean, that's a really.
I would argue that they don't. I would argue that the way to win is be
just
like,
stay away from it.
Hey, stay. Like,
we're already there.
Games.
We're good. Yeah,
Yo, if you want the Slim, you want the Pro, they're out there to play our amazing games. Did I mention we have a great library? Did I mention there's many more things coming out?
And Salt and Sanctuary on Vita this week, I think.
Yes.
Have you played that? God, I love that game.
No, I was waiting for it to come to Vita.
That game is awesome.
Let me hit y'all with some of that sweet, nasty. If you click right here, you can subscribe to youtube.com/kindoffunnygames for way more of this content. Click here for way more just other kind of funny content, like, I don't know, The Morning Show and Game Over Greggy. You can click here for Patreon, and bam, you're giving us money. We can do cooler stuff. Andy Cortez can have a clone.